when somebody else says to you, God told me, you can say, I don't know what you heard, but I don't think God told you that, because he's already told us in his word something that we can count on.
They say Nikola Tesla talked to lightning, not in a poetic way, not as a metaphor. He listened to the thunder like a message. He believed the world was speaking, through frequencies, through vibrations, through pulses that moved beyond what the eye could see. And while most dismissed him as eccentric or mad, Tesla didn't mind, because he wasn't trying to convince the world. He was trying to remember something the world had long forgotten. The misunderstood genius and the forgotten God. Something about God, but not the God most people imagine, not the bearded man in the clouds, not the figure painted on church ceilings or carved into stone. When Tesla spoke of God, he wasn't speaking of belief, he was speaking of energy. He once said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." And he meant it. To him, the divine wasn't hiding in temples. It was humming through the wires, crackling through the air, beating in the heart. It was in the hum of the earth, in the invisible waves that carried sound, thought, and light. God was not a story. God was a signal. And we had stopped tuning in. This is why Tesla's life was so lonely. He wasn't just building machines, he was trying to awaken memory, ancient memory, the kind buried deep in the human spirit, passed down not in words, but in resonance. There are old teachings from Eastern philosophies that say all things vibrate with a sound, even the soul. The universe, they say, was sung into being. Tesla didn't invent this idea, he rediscovered it. That's the part history often skips over. People remember Tesla's inventions, his coil, his alternating current, his wild dreams of free wireless energy. But few speak of what drove him. Few ask why he lived as a recluse, why he refused money and fame, why he once claimed to see visions of light with messages he couldn't explain. Fewer still know that as a child he was obsessed with the unseen, that he spoke of flashes in his mind's eye long before science could name what they were. And fewer still know that one of his greatest regrets was this. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. That was Tesla's message, and it was a warning. We had begun to worship the machine, the tool, the screen. But we forgot what powered the machine in the first place, not just electricity, not just motion, but something deeper, something sacred. Tesla believed we misunderstood God because we reduced God to a shape, a story, a side. Some believed God was on their team, others believed God needed defending. But Tesla didn't see sides. He saw fields, layers, signals crossing signals. He once claimed that thoughts themselves were vibrations that could be tuned, that our emotions were like waves on a spectrum, that the more we aligned with certain frequencies, like love, peace, stillness, the closer we moved to what he called the source. This wasn't just science, it was spirituality stripped bare. In many ways, Tesla was a mystic with a lab coat, a seeker who used wires instead of prayer beads, a monk who sat beneath a tower instead of a tree. And when he said, "You do not understand God," he wasn't being arrogant, he was being honest. He was talking to a world that still sees God as distant, as separate, as something above. He was talking to minds trained to split science and spirit like oil and water. But Tesla saw no split. In his view, the sacred was in the circuit. The divine was encoded in the current. The miracle was in the math. There's an old Sufi story about a fish who swims through the ocean searching for water. He asks the other fish, "Where is the water?" I can't find it. The others laugh gently and say, "You are in it. You've always been in it." This is how Tesla saw us, surrounded by energy, connected to something infinite, but blind to it because we expected it to look different. More glowing, maybe, more holy, more obvious. But Tesla knew that the truth never shouts. It hums, quietly, constantly, and if we still ourselves long enough, if we silence the noise of opinion, fear and distraction, we can hear it again. That gentle hum, that inner current, that deep vibration that moves not just around us but through us. Tesla's story is not just one of technology, it is a spiritual parable. One of a man who tried to bring light to the world, and not just with bulbs. He tried to show us that the world itself was alive, that every tree, every star, every heartbeat was part of a greater circuit, that God was not hiding behind the clouds, but glowing inside everything, especially inside you. So this is where the journey begins, not with wires or diagrams, not with lectures or doctrine, but with a single shift in how you see the world, a willingness to listen again, to look again, to feel the silent hum underneath it all. You are not separate from the signal. You are not outside the circuit. You are not lost. You are part of it, always have been. The signal Tesla chased in silence. That's because to Tesla, the world wasn't chaotic. It just looked that way to those who were deaf to the hum. He didn't need a church to feel close to God. He built towers instead, coils, conductors, machines that could reach beyond borders and across oceans. He believed we were surrounded by invisible waves of power, waves that could carry not just light or heat, but thought, emotion, intention. He wasn't talking about magic. He was talking about a hidden order, one that pulsed through everything, like breath through lungs. This was the signal he chased, not for glory, not even for science, but because something inside him knew it was real. And here's the strange part. Many ancient cultures knew of this same signal. They just spoke about it differently. In Hinduism, it is called prana, the life force. It flows through breath, through the energy centers of the body, and connects all living things. In Chinese philosophy, it is qi. In the Western Hermetic tradition, it was the divine spark, the same spark that gave birth to the stars and whispers in the silence between thoughts. In Tesla's time, these words weren't taken seriously in scientific circles, but he didn't care. He trusted what he felt. He knew that truth doesn't always come wrapped in formulas. Sometimes it comes as a pull, a knowing, a sound you hear without ears. That's what made him different. Not his genius, but his ability to listen to the spaces no one else was listening to. And here's where things get interesting. Tesla spoke often of non-physical phenomena. He believed thoughts were more than brain signals. They were frequencies, that emotions had power, that intuition was a form of reception, like tuning a radio. He even said that certain ideas would appear fully formed in his mind, as if sent from somewhere beyond. He didn't invent them, he received them. The idea may sound strange, but it's not new. In many shamanic traditions, visions are not imagined, they are transmitted. The healer becomes a receiver. The dream is not fantasy, it is communication. And this is what Tesla began to experience alone in his lab, surrounded by machines that hummed and hissed like the belly of the earth itself. He was listening, and what he found is that the same signal that ran through his machines also ran through him. It runs through you too. Every breath you take is not just air, it is rhythm. Inhale, exhale, a wave moving through you. That's the first way you begin to feel the signal, through your own breath, through your body, through the tingling that rises when you're quiet enough to notice it. Tesla once sat alone in a park and watched the storm clouds form, saying that the lightning spoke to him, not with words, but with something older. The sky, the trees, the static in the wind, they were part of the same signal. It was all communication, all vibration, the same one that pulses through dreams. That's why dreams matter so much. When your waking mind goes quiet and your body softens into sleep, something opens. A door, a gate, and through that gate flows the same frequency that Tesla chased. It comes in symbols, in colors, in feelings that stay with you long after you open your eyes. You don't have to understand every dream, you just have to pay attention, because the signal never stops. Only we stop hearing it. Tesla knew that. It's why he stayed up most nights, walking alone, thinking, receiving. He once said he could feel the vibrations of the earth through his feet, that he didn't need a machine to feel the pulse. He needed stillness. The signal is subtle. It won't shout. It won't force. It waits until you are ready. And the moment you begin to feel it, everything changes. You begin to see meaning in places others overlook. You start noticing patterns in nature, in conversation, in coincidence. You may feel strange sensations in your body when you're alone. You may feel guided, as if something unseen is helping you find your way. These are not accidents. These are echoes of the signal. The same one Tesla tried to show the world, and the same one many mystics before him knew without needing machines. In Zen Buddhism, there is a teaching. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. What changes is not the task. It is the awareness, the quiet, the presence, the tuning in. Tesla didn't think he was special. He thought anyone could feel it, if they wanted to, if they dropped their noise, their fear, their belief that only what's visible is real. That's the trap. That's the distraction, because the most powerful signal is not the one you see. It's the one you feel when nothing else is there. The signal of God, as Tesla knew it, was not found in dogma. It was found in the breath, in the moment before thought, in the stillness between seconds. Tesla and God. But what did Tesla mean by God? Tesla was raised in a devout Serbian Orthodox family. His father was a priest, and his mother, though unschooled, was deeply spiritual. She taught him to seek truth in the Bible. Yet as Tesla grew older, his understanding of God expanded beyond traditional religious teachings. He once remarked, "In my heart, I am deeply religious, though not in the orthodox sense of the word." For Tesla, God was not a distant figure watching from the heavens. Instead, he saw God as the very essence of the universe, a force present in every vibration, every frequency, every particle of energy. He believed that by understanding energy, frequency, and vibration, one could grasp the secrets of the universe, and in doing so, come closer to understanding God. This perspective aligns with the ideas of Baruch Spinoza, a 17th century Dutch philosopher. Spinoza proposed that God and nature are two names for the same reality. He believed that everything in the universe is interconnected, and that understanding the natural world is a way to understand God. Like Tesla, Spinoza saw divinity not as a separate entity, but as the very fabric of existence. Tesla's view of God was also influenced by Eastern philosophies. He was known to have studied Vedic teachings and was familiar with concepts like akasha and prana, which refer to the fundamental energies of the universe. These ideas further reinforced his belief in a universe filled with a divine energy that could be tapped into and understood. In essence, Tesla's God was not confined to churches or scriptures. His God was the rhythm of the cosmos, the pulse of the stars, the silent hum of energy that connects all things. To truly understand God, Tesla believed one must look beyond dogma and into the very nature of reality itself. We don't understand God. When Nikola Tesla declared, "You do not understand God," he wasn't condemning belief. He was pointing to something deeper, a truth buried beneath centuries of dogma and distraction. To Tesla, God was not a figure on a throne, nor a distant creator. God was the pulse behind every vibration, the intelligence humming through every frequency. He saw divinity not as something to worship from afar, but as something to experience directly, intimately, in the silence between thoughts and the stillness between heartbeats. This perspective aligns with the ideas of Baruch Spinoza, a 17th century Dutch philosopher. Spinoza proposed that God and nature are two names for the same reality. He believed that everything in the universe is interconnected, and that understanding the natural world is a way to understand God. Like Tesla, Spinoza saw divinity not as a separate entity, but as the very fabric of existence. Tesla's vision was not confined to the physical realm. He believed that by understanding energy, frequency, and vibration, one could grasp the secrets of the universe and, in doing so, come closer to understanding God. He once said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." This idea resonates with the teachings of the perennial philosophy, which posits that all religions share a single, universal truth. This truth is the understanding that beneath the surface, differences of religious traditions lies a common foundation, a direct experience of the divine. This experience transcends dogma and doctrine, leading to a profound sense of unity with all that is. In the end, Tesla's message was clear. To truly understand God, one must look beyond the confines of traditional belief systems and explore the deeper, underlying truths of existence. By tuning into the frequencies of the universe, by seeking direct experience over second-hand knowledge, we can begin to grasp the divine essence that permeates all things. As we conclude this exploration of Tesla's spiritual insights, let us remember that the journey to understanding God is not one of blind faith, but of conscious exploration. It is a path that invites us to question, to seek, and ultimately to experience the divine within ourselves and the world around us. And you don't have to be a scientist to find it. You just have to be still, and you'll finally find your signal. But what happens then? Power within signal. It doesn't just light up the world around you, it begins to light up the world within you. That's what Nikola Tesla understood better than almost anyone else in his time. He didn't see energy as something just to be captured in wires or towers. He saw it as a bridge between the physical and the spiritual, a hidden force that could do more than power machines. It could power the human soul. Many cultures believed the world was alive with invisible power. In Tibet, monks speak of lung, the wind energy of the body, a current that runs through breath and spirit. In Egypt, priests once spoke of Heka, a sacred force that lived inside words and intention. In West Africa, the Yoruba people believe in Ashe, the power to make things happen. And in each of these traditions, this power wasn't only out there, it was within. Tesla was saying the same thing in his own way, that what we call electricity is only one form of a much deeper vibration, a cosmic language. And just like any language, it doesn't just carry information, it carries meaning, memory, feeling. And when you learn how to listen to it, it begins to unlock something in you. He believed our bodies were antennas, that the spine, the brain, the heart, all of it could be tuned to this energy. And when that happened, healing could take place. Not just physical healing, but something more subtle. Healing of identity, healing of direction, healing of self. It sounds like mysticism, but it's not new. In the teachings of Gurdjieff, a mystic Tesla may have heard of during his lifetime, there's the idea that human beings are asleep, not physically, but spiritually, that most people live like machines, repeating the same patterns, the same thoughts, day after day. Gurdjieff said the first step toward awakening is to remember yourself, to become conscious of being alive, of breathing, of feeling, and once that door opens, you can begin to receive higher influences, energies that come not from the outside world, but from higher planes of reality. Tesla may not have used those exact words, but he understood the concept. He believed that when you aligned yourself with this cosmic frequency, this signal, you could awaken. You could begin to remember who you really are, not just your name or your past, but your origin, your purpose, the deeper part of you that existed before your body and will continue after it. This is the same signal that speaks in dreams, that whispers when the world goes quiet, that pulses in the space between your thoughts. Tesla believed that by tuning into it, we could awaken powers we've lost. He spoke often of intuition, not as a vague feeling, but as a real sense, something sharp, something fast, the ability to see without needing to look, to understand without needing to reason. He believed this was the future of humanity, not faster machines, but more awake people. He once said that the brain is only a receiver, that knowledge, ideas, even genius itself come from a core frequency, an intelligence that surrounds us and speaks through us if we are willing to listen. He wasn't alone in this. The ancient Greeks had a word for this, nous, the divine intellect that lives in all things. The Hermeticists believed the same, that all minds are connected to a universal mind, and that this signal was the link. In Hinduism, it's called the Akashic field, a space where all thoughts, events, and intentions are stored like echoes in a sky of memory. And in Christian mysticism, there are stories of saints who, in stillness and prayer, began to hear not voices but music, harmony, a vibration that healed the soul. This is the level Tesla was reaching toward. Not just science, not just electricity, but the inner light, the current that hums through our dreams, our thoughts, our very selves. And here's where it becomes real. When you begin to notice the signal, when you feel it in your breath, in the way your skin tingles in silence, in the way synchronicities appear like hidden messages, you also begin to change. You may become more sensitive, more intuitive. You may find that memories you forgot begin to surface. You might remember parts of your childhood you thought were gone. You may cry for no reason, laugh without understanding why. These are signs, not of breaking down, but of waking up. The signal is doing its work, healing what was buried, connecting you to something bigger. It's not always easy, but it is always worth it. Tesla didn't see technology and spirit as separate. He saw them as two ends of the same bridge. He believed that if we built our tools with intention, if we tuned our bodies like instruments, we could live in harmony with the universe. He believed that true power wasn't in controlling others, but in tuning ourselves so finely that we became transmitters of truth, compassion, and light. This was the signal he wanted the world to understand. Not just electricity, but energy that awakens, that heals, that remembers. And it begins with one thing, awareness, not of the outside world, but of the one within you. In that spiral, everything changes because we find out a deeper truth of reality, and that truth is that time doesn't move the way we think it does. Spiraling time. We're taught to see it like a straight line, past, present, future, a ticking clock, a countdown, something that slips through your fingers faster than you can catch it. But Tesla didn't see time that way. and the deeper you look into his life, the clearer it becomes. He believed time was shaped more like a spiral than a line, a loop, a rhythm, a current, not a cage. The signal he spent his life trying to decode. It wasn't only about energy, it was about frequency. And frequency, when you tune into it deeply enough, begins to bend the way you feel time. The more aligned you are, the slower time feels. Or rather, the less separate things feel. Suddenly, a dream from childhood feels as close as what happened yesterday. A vision of the future comes through the same door as a memory. The veil between now and then thins. Tesla often spoke about accessing information instantly, not learning it through step-by-step study, but receiving it in flashes. He believed that ideas lived outside of us, and that with the right attunement, we could enter them, like walking through a doorway. That kind of awareness doesn't work inside the limits of regular time. It stretches beyond it. This may sound like science fiction, but it echoes something ancient. In the Hindu concept of yugas, time is not linear but cyclical. Ages rise and fall like breath. There are high times and low times, and they repeat. The same golden ages, the same declines. Over and over, like a spiral staircase winding through eternity. In this worldview, progress isn't a straight march forward. It's a return, a reawakening of something that was once known and forgotten. Tesla may not have called it a yuga, but he felt it. That humanity was on the edge of remembering. That time had wrapped around again, and the knowledge buried in ancient temples and star maps was stirring once more. The signal wasn't new, it was ancient. We just forgot how to hear it. In one of his most mysterious notes, Tesla wrote, "My brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration." That core he spoke of, where is it? It isn't found in space. It isn't found in time. It's found in the place outside of time. The still point, the spiral's center. In African spiritual traditions, especially among the Dagara people of Burkina Faso, there is a belief that time moves in circles, that the future lives in the past, and the ancestors are never gone. They are just on the other side of the circle. The Dagara do not see time as a ticking clock, but as a gathering, a conversation, something alive. Tesla, in his own way, was listening to that same conversation. He just used different tools, oscillators instead of drums, towers instead of shrines. But the spirit was the same. When you start tuning into this spiral way of seeing time, strange things begin to happen. You begin to dream of places you've never seen, but they feel familiar. You feel echoes in conversations, as if someone has said this to you before. You get the sense that you're living moments out of order, like the future is remembering you before you even get there. These are not glitches, they're signals. They are the time spiral brushing up against your awareness. Tesla believed the human brain could learn to hold these patterns, that we could feel our way through time instead of chasing it. That when your body, mind, and heart align with the right frequency, you don't just measure time, you shape it. That might sound impossible, but think of the moments in your own life when time bent, the seconds before a car crash, when everything slowed down, the minutes in a deep meditation, when hours passed like nothing, or a dream where you lived a whole life in the span of a night. These are all cracks in the illusion, moments when the spiral becomes visible. In many shamanic traditions, the spiral is sacred. It's found in art, in drums, in carvings. It symbolizes journeys inward and journeys beyond. The center always leads back to source. Tesla's entire vision followed that spiral. His machine spun, his coils hummed in loops. He was trying to mimic the universe, not the visible one, but the one behind it, the one that breathes in patterns. And in those patterns is the key to time. Here's where it gets personal. When you start noticing the spiral, you begin to realize you're not as stuck as you thought. Patterns you thought you'd never break, emotions, relationships, beliefs, they begin to soften. You see them not as walls but as curves, spirals waiting to be completed or exited. You find that forgiveness for yourself or others doesn't require decades. Sometimes it only requires one full breath, a return to center. Tesla believed this was the future of energy, not just external power, but inner liberation. And as you tune into the signal, time becomes a friend, not a burden. You stop racing against the clock. You begin dancing with it. You begin remembering that maybe, just maybe, everything is happening at once. That what we call past lives are actually parallel threads. That the future is not a fixed place, but a possibility already reaching back toward you, asking to be heard. Tesla wasn't just chasing lightning. He was chasing eternity. The dream world does not arrive with fanfare. It doesn't knock or shout. It slips in quietly, like mist in a forgotten forest. You don't notice at first. Maybe you wake up and feel slightly off. Or maybe a memory from a dream stays with you longer than usual. A face you've never seen, a word you've never spoken, an idea that feels like it came from somewhere beyond. This is the spiral. And once you step into it, you don't just dream, you begin to travel. Tesla knew this, though he rarely spoke of it in the terms most mystics used. He was too much a man of science, but even in his language, voltage, waves, oscillations, you can hear the echoes of something deeper. He once said, "The gift of mental power comes from God, divine being, and if we concentrate our minds on that truth, we become in tune with this great power." Now let's be clear. Tesla wasn't talking about just building radios or lighting up bulbs. He was speaking about tuning the self, just like a radio, to pick up a frequency most people ignore. A signal so quiet it can only be heard in stillness. This signal doesn't just pass through wires, it passes through you. It vibrates in your breath, your thoughts, your sleep. When we sleep, the walls fall. The ordinary world fades. What's left is the open field of the dream. Most people take it lightly, but the dream world is no illusion. In many cultures, it is considered the real world, the one where the soul goes to learn. Among the Aboriginal people of Australia, for example, there's a concept called the dream time. It's not a time as we understand it. It's more like a space beyond time, a place where creation still happens. Every step, every song, every symbol seen in dreams is part of the soul's journey. Tesla may not have studied Aboriginal cosmology, but he lived like someone who had, seeing every pattern, every burst of electricity, every dream as a thread in a much bigger web. One of the most fascinating psychological studies that mirrors this idea came from the work of Carl Jung. Jung believed that dreams are not just the mind's way of processing life, they are portals. Each dream, according to him, contains symbols from something he called the collective unconscious. These are not just personal memories, these are ancient echoes, archetypes, shapes and figures that speak across generations. In Jung's analysis of patients, he often found that people would dream of symbols they had never seen or studied, like ancient mandalas or spiral staircases or birds turning into flames. These weren't just creative dreams. Jung believed these were messages from the deeper layers of being, the soul reaching out, trying to remember where it came from, trying to bring the conscious self closer to wholeness. Tesla, in his own way, was doing the same. His dreams, by his own accounts, often gave him complete visions of inventions before he ever built them. "I do not rush into actual work," he said. "When I get an idea, I start at once building it up in my imagination." In other words, he used the dream world not as a fantasy, but as a blueprint, So how do we step deeper into this spiral? You don't need machines, you don't need formulas. What you need is presence and attention and a willingness to listen to what your dreams are already trying to say. It starts when you no longer see dreams as meaningless, when you write them down, when you look for patterns, when you begin to notice the characters who return again and again, the cities that feel familiar but don't exist in any map. These are clues, these are signals, and once you begin to notice them, they start to notice you back. Tesla believed that the universe was alive with intelligence, that what we call matter was just condensed energy, and energy itself was shaped by thought. If that's true, then your dreams aren't just shadows of your mind. They are signals being shaped by your very vibration. If you raise your frequency, the messages change. The dream world shifts. New doors open. One night you're running from something, the next you're flying. Then you're speaking to someone you've never met, but you know them. Deep down, you've always known them. This is not random. This is the spiral deepening. Some people call this lucid dreaming, but it goes further. Lucid dreaming is just the doorway. Beyond it is the realm of what ancient Taoists called the Yellow Court, a symbolic realm where the soul receives training. In this place, things happen that can affect the waking world. Emotional wounds heal, fears dissolve. Wisdom is planted like seeds in the soil of the soul. Tesla lived most of his life between these worlds. He wasn't wealthy, he wasn't always understood, but he was tuned into something greater. He saw dreams not as escape, but as maps. Maps to a world just as real as this one. And you can too. The spiral is open to anyone who walks slowly enough to see it, who breathes deeply enough to hear it, who sleeps not to escape, but to explore. Dreams are not stories, they are structures, and they are waiting. The future is yours. In another notable instance, Tesla said, "The present is theirs. The future for which I really worked is mine." This wasn't just defiance, it was a declaration of faith, not in man, but in the rhythm of the cosmos. Tesla didn't see energy as something we use. He saw it as something we are. He believed we were born inside a divine equation, humans, matter, movement, all governed by the same invisible laws. Like a current, unseen but undeniable, this power moved through everything, whispering to those with ears to listen. And Tesla listened. When he dreamed of wireless towers and radiant energy, he wasn't chasing inventions. He was chasing alignment. He believed everything was vibration, frequency, and intention, that even thoughts held charge, that even silence had a pulse. He looked around at the world, chaotic, mechanical, greedy, and instead of bending to it, he turned inward. He believed the future would belong not to those who conquered nations, but to those who harmonized with nature, to those who understood the divine patterns beneath what the eye could see. Tesla didn't invent his way into power. He remembered his way into it. Like the mystics before him, he believed in a universe where nothing was separate. In such a place, every spark of inspiration was not personal genius. It was communion. Like the ancient alchemists who watched steam rise from boiling metal and saw the soul in it, Tesla too believed in purification through pressure. In the heat of isolation, obsession, and even madness, he saw the distillation of spirit. Just as vapor sheds its weight to rise, so too must the human mind shed its fears, its doubts, its attachment to control. What remains, if one is brave enough to surrender, is something luminous, something close to divine. This belief was not just metaphysical, it was practical. Tesla viewed human behavior as part of the same grand design that shaped stars and magnetism. He did not believe in free will the way others did. To him, we were governed by deeper currents, by cosmic forces that flow through the universe and through us. Karma wasn't just a religious idea to Tesla, it was a law of nature. That's why his science was different. He wasn't just building technologies, he was tuning them to the music of the universe, his towers, his coils, his dreams of global energy networks. They were sacred instruments, meant to play the song of God across the earth. And still, he suffered. Tesla's mind lived in the sky, but his body walked a lonely earth. Isolated, misunderstood, and often dismissed, he descended into despair. Obsessive habits plagued him. His connection to cosmic patterns came at the cost of earthly comfort. But in that pain, he still listened. In the silence of night, he still reached for something higher. What makes Tesla different from the rest is not just what he built, it's what he believed. That consciousness itself is a form of divine reception. That the human mind is not just a thinker, it's a receiver of the infinite. That God speaks not through commandments or sacred books, but through energy, through intuition, through the unseen. Even today, his words feel like prophecy. And still, the world did not understand him. How could it? He was not speaking to the present, he was speaking to the future, to those who would stop asking, "What is God?" and instead begin to ask, "What isn't?" To the ones who would one day realize that light, electricity, and thought were not separate forces, but reflections of the same divine current. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.